I was curious about the shagbark too, right? And I was hoping you still had a piece of that.
Hey gang, Rod here, East Coast Lumberjack, and I'm visited by an old high school buddy of mine, Kenny Cook. So Kenny's he's a graduate of the Ranger School back in the 90s. So he's done his time there, and he's also spent years out west. He's done a lot of cool things in his life working, and he's learned a lot. He's done a lot, but he's here on a handle mission. Okay, he's an East Coast Lumberjack on a handle mission. So I said I wouldn't rise him too bad, but I want to show you his handle. Okay, now the good thing is Ken tackled this himself. Okay, let's look down just look down that one. Okay, he said he made it for splitting wood, so he could stand on one side of the garage and split it on the other. But it's a big maul. He made this handle, and it's lasted for a bit. But of course now he's had to revert to some plumbing here on the neck of it. Here's how he's got it held on. Okay. So he's Charlotte County-ized this thing to the max. Okay.
It's tight.
It is, and it's tight. I'll tell you that. There's no wiggle there. But now somehow I got to get this thing apart. So what we're going to do. So this is a round eye in a maul. Okay. So it's probably at least 8-pound maul. It's got a round eye, and it needs a handle. So the good thing here at the East Coast Lumberjack, what we can do is I'm going to make I'll use my regular Aussie pattern. So I'm just going to take my regular split and axe pattern. Although what I could do is also use a lot of times guys like straight handles. You want a straight handle or a curved handle?
Curved. Okay,
so he wants a curved handle. So we're going to make the Aussie pattern. Only when I get out of here to the end, I'm going to keep it going straight, and I'm going to make a round eye. So we can do that here. So I'm going to get a piece of wood, and I'm going to show you how we do this. Oh, now, did you say you want shagbark hickory? You want hickory instead of...
I just wanted to look at it. I've never seen shagbark.
Oh, well, it's out in the yard. So maybe what we'll do, maybe we'll put a hickory in this. I was going to put an ash in. It's got an ash handle in it, but I think I'll put a hickory in it. So I need a long piece of hickory. So I've got a long piece of hickory. We'll see how long that handle is. His handle is 32 inches. So I don't need it too long. This one here that's a 47-inch hickory handle. It's got a couple little divots in it. And I don't want to give him a substandard handle, so I got to find another piece of hickory here. All right.
Black or white ash?
White ash, all we have. So we got a white ash blank. Down so you can see this. What we're doing here.
You ever use black?
No, black is good for baskets and stuff like that, but it's not much for handles. So all I'm going to do, so you want a little longer than that, you think?
Sure.
And you want your a little longer, so we're going to start with the Aussie pattern right here. So I'm going to draw the palm swell on right here, and then because he wants it longer, I'm just going to move it up ahead here till we get 36 inches. Well, that's a long handle, but I aim to please. Let's go 34. I think 34 is probably perfect for that size of that. So we're just going to make that out there a little bit farther. There, and I'm going to come in the back. Move that ahead a little bit more, because the eye, see, on this one here is only like 3 inches is all I need up there. So I'm just going to take a 3-inch piece off of that and put the neck on it. So this is what it looks like. There we go. Easier to see. So it comes up here. And all I've done, I've taken it straight out. The eye on this thing is only, what is that? 1.5 inches. So right now I've got 2.5 inches, so I'm going to take that down a little bit. Because there's no need in putting a lot of extra wood on this if you're only going to shave it all off anyhow. So we're just going to come in here another 1/2 inch. Like that. So there we go. So there's our pattern. So I've used an Aussie pattern down here for his palm swell. It's got a little bit of sweep in it, and then I've got it narrowed in at the top. And of course, when I do turn it on its side, that's when I'll actually give myself a lot of room at the top. So I'll spare you the time of cutting her out. Okay, so I got the first part cut out. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use my straight edge pattern. And we're going to put that on here. And again, there's a little bit of movement in the grain, but not a lot. So I want to follow, for the most part, I want to follow that straight on both sides. But then, see, because the pattern, it widens out here. So at the top of the eye, his eye is 1.25 inches. So most of my eyes, of course, for a regular handle, are 1 inch. So I need 1.25 inches up top here. So I make sure I've got lots of room to put his eye in. So, come out here, come out here. So now what I've got on this, I've just gone quite a bit wider on the eye. I've got 1.5 inches. And then it's going to come in right here where the neck sweeps in. I'm just going to gradually, I just made that gradually come into the rest of the handle. So we'll go back and cut it out. So in the interest of time, I'm not going to show you me bandsawing this out. It takes about, it didn't take too long. It took about 5 minutes. And then of course I had to work it. I'd use my spoke shave and my rasp and the Sureform, Stanley Sureform, to shape it all out. So this little video clip is the interlude to show you that it's all done. And we're going to bounce right back into putting a 34-inch white ash handle into this 8-pound Charlotte County maul, and we'll take it from there. Hey gang, back again. I'm waiting for my pal to walk through the door here. He's being bashful on me. There's Kenny back again. So I cut the handle out and I finished it. So here's that's the Aussie handle. It's fairly rugged down through here. Now unfortunately, because this is a big axe head, okay, it's about 8 pounds, and it's one of these ones that I hate. It's got a really tiny eye. So the problem is, of course, you get all kinds of meat in the handle, but then the eye's really small. So in all honesty, there's not much we can do about this. What they should do, somebody should make this bigger, okay? The eye should be a larger eye, and of course the time to do that's when it's forged. Now the other problem with this eye is it's wide here, it narrows in the middle of the eye, and then it spreads out again at the top. So what that means is you're always fighting, you're getting it smaller and smaller to get through the middle of the eye, but then of course when it gets up top you get a lot of wiggle room. And of course you get a little bit of wiggle room at the bottom. So we know from how all the epoxy and screws in it that Kenny's good at epoxy. Which is good, because I'm going to get him to epoxy this thing when we're done. But before we get there, so I've been playing with this, trying to get it on. So this has been one of the most challenging hangs the old boy's ever done, and it was a Charlotte County boy that's giving me the grief. So I kind of like that. Thank you, Kenny. So he gets the claim to fame of being the toughest handle to do at the old East Coast Lumberjack shop in a long time.
I'm happy to help.
But it makes for good content. So what I've done, because it's wide at the top, now you look at how much I had to take off of it to get that in there, and you'll see there's a lot of gap the whole way around this eye at the top. So I've taken it out, and I've actually put one cross wedge with the regular wedge. So I can cross it one way, widen it, so it takes up the slack front and back, and also side to side. So I had to do that because, again, the middle is so tiny, we had to pound through that, and of course when it gets up to the top, now it's not going to fill it. So there's not much we can do about it, in all honesty. There's still a little bit of gap here at the bottom, so I'm going to pound it on a little further. Okay, we need it on there nice and snug. So now that it's nice and straight, a little bit more. Now it's moved just a whisker. Let me check here. Okay, that's pretty darn good. The blade is almost perfect down there. It's just sitting just a little bit sideways, just a whisker. But I can't fix that, unfortunately, because it's not touching here and it's not touching here. So it should go over there on its own, and it's not. Let's see now. The only other thing I could do, I could maybe, if I wedge that, see from the outside here, it might push that over enough. But it's so close, I don't think I'm going to bother with it. It's not off by a lot. It's a heck of a lot better than it was. So, okay, so now so I cut this cross wedge in it, but now there's this much, there's almost an inch sticking up through the axe, and I can see my cross wedge is stopped right about here. So I want it down right about there, okay? At least past the halfway point where it tightens up. I'm just going to pop that out and make that a little bit deeper. So it's just down here. I want to make it a little bit deeper. So that it sits on there so I can wedge it. There. So I've gone down about another 3/4 of an inch, just so I got some room there. And then where the handle has chafed, it's chafed a little bit there. You can see it's chafing a little bit there. So I'm just going to use my wood rasp, my Nicholson wood rasp, and I'm just going to take that off. Because remember, that'll create a weak point in your handle. So we don't want that. We want it good and tough. Especially on this head. This is a big head. So we're going to take that off. Right here in the back a little bit. So Ken grew up pretty close to me down home in Charlotte County, New Brunswick. He was over in Oak Hill, and I was growing up in Mayfield. He graduated with my brother Brian. And he conquered the Maritime College actually, Maritime Forest Ranger School is where he went. And he conquered it, because it was a tough school back in the day. And he went and he did it. He was in my office a few times when I was at DNR, worried about things, but we kept encouraging him, and he hung with her, and I'm glad he did. He's a great technician. He works for Tommy. So shout out to Tom Anderson, who's out west.
Hey, Tom.
Tom's looked after Kenny for us here over the years. They've become quite the buds. And I think last time Tom watched one of these videos, he called me up about a handle, but he's never got back to me. So Tom, I know you still need a handle. I haven't forgotten about you. Okay, so there, that you can see right there, the bit is pretty much right and straight with down there at the end. We're snugged up here, so I'm just going to snip this off a little bit down here, and then we're going to wedge it. So I want to show you how I'm going to cross wedge this thing. So the first thing is I got a fat wedge, okay? Pretty fat wedge. So now what we're going to do, and I only need half of it, so I'm going to cut this thing in half. There we go. So now I've got my wedge in half. And then we're going to wedge front to back and side to side. So here's my front to back one, okay? So it hasn't quite filled up our gaps in the front and the back. So now what I'll do is I'll take a file. It's fairly wide like this, and I should have maybe snipped that off a little bit farther, but I didn't. So I'm going to get my pal here, Ken, to hold on to that. I'll bring you over here just a little bit so you can see what we're doing. And we're going to pound that down there a little bit farther. So you want to just hold that, Ken. Don't just stand right there, just like that. I'm going to drive her down a little further. She's almost filled up. Got a little bit more. Okay, there. So this wedge is in here, and you can see it's fattened out a lot. So it's taking up all that slack, but now we need to take up the slack front to back. So I need to split my little wedge here again. So I have a piece, one piece for each side. There we go. I got a piece for each side here now. So I'll put one on one side. Actually, you know what I'll do first? I'm going to cut that little piece off so I don't have to do the same thing. We can pound it right in. Okay. So I flattened it off this way, so there's nothing going to hold me back from pounding these two side wedges in. So I'm going to put one here, like this. And then one on the other side. I know you can't see there right now, but I'll show you here in a second. Okay, so see I'm putting them in like this. One on one side of it, one on the other. Now I'm going to pound those along. So they take up the slack front to back. We get him away from using them screws. So we're putting wet wood in.
Epoxy means screws, doesn't it?
Well, epoxy. I still might have to get you to epoxy a little bit. Okay, so there it is. So they've all mushroomed out. I know it's as tight as I can get it on the top, so now we're just going to clean her up. Clean this up. There. So there it is. So it's on. It's got a nice handle in it. She's a rugged rig. And she's pretty much in line with that handle. That's good. I feel good about that. So that is the toughest hang I've done in a long time. And probably one of the biggest challenges was getting the old handle out because it was epoxied really tight. There were 6 screws in it, and I had to ruin a bandsaw blade to get them off. But that's all right. It was an older blade. And then, of course, I had to take up the slack. So now the bottom, I'm going to get him to put a little wee bit of epoxy in the bottom of this because there's just a little gap here on both sides. Not much. But the slickest way, especially if a guy's good with epoxy, is just to fill those 2 gaps and that'll never budge. And of course the top here is nice and snug. So that is the old 8-pound maul from Charlotte County. She's got new life. We breathed new life into her. And the old handle, maybe she's already hit the, no, oh there, I see right here. So, this is the before. This is the before handle. This is the after. Okay, and we give him a little bit more length. A little bit more length. So hopefully we send him away a happy man. I'm just going to trim this up a little bit, and that was a project for this week. So that's a big 8-pound maul with an East Coast Lumberjack handle, and start to finish. So, and thank you, you guys did not have to endure the taking the handle out because it was painful. I had to drill, I had to cut, I had to pound, I had to do a lot of stuff. But we got her. And the toughest job I've had yet from a Charlotte County boy. So, hats off to Ken. So, Ken, thanks for coming up and hanging out.
Awesome.
And giving us a project to work on. Join us again next week. All kinds more coming on East Coast Lumberjack.